Hi friends, welcome back to SPK English Academy. In today's class, I will discuss one of the greatest romantic comedy of Elizabethan age, that is A Midsummer Night's Dream, written by William Shakespeare. You know, William Shakespeare is one of the most important and very popular and greatest world famous dramatist. So, we will discuss about the play background. See, Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy written by William Shakespeare in 1595 or 1596. The play is set in Athens and consisted of several subplots that revolve around the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta. One subplot involves a conflict between four Athenian lovers, and there follows a group of sick amateur actors rehearsing the play which they are to perform before the wedding. Both groups find themselves in a forest inhabited by fairies who manipulate the human and are engaged in their own domestic intrigue. The play is one of the Shakespeare's most popular and is widely performed during Elizabethan reign. Now we have to look at the characters of the play. See, Theseus, the Duke of Athens; Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons; Aegeus, father of Hermia, daughter of Aegeus, in love with Lysander; Lysander in love with Hermia; Demetrius, suitor to Hermia, former lover of Helena; Helena in love with Demetrius; Philostrato, master of the rebels; Peter Quince, a carpenter; Nick Bottom, a weaver. See, Francis Plute, a bellows mender; Tom Snout, a tinker; Snug, a joiner; Robin Starveling, a tailor; Oberon, king of the fairies; Titania, queen of the fairies; Robin Puck Goodfellow, a mischievous sprite with magical powers; Peace Blossom, Cobweb, Moth, Mustard Seed, fairy servants to Titania; Indian Changeling, a ward of Titania. So these are the important characters which come across the play The Midsummer Night's Dream. See, the play consists of four interconnecting plots. Connected by a celebration of the wedding of Duke Theseus of Athens and Amazon Queen Hippolyta, which are set simultaneously in the woodland and in the realm of fairyland under the light of the moon. See, this is the scene of Hermia and Helena. See, now look at Athenian law, how that Athenian law is played very important role in the marriage of Helena. The play opens with Hermia, who is in love with Lysander. Resistant means opposition to her father Aegeus' demand that she wed Demetrius, whom he has arranged for her to marry. Here, Aegeus, Hermia's father, he wanted Hermia to marry Demetrius. He already had chosen Demetrius for his daughter Hermia. Helena, Hermia's best friend, pines or longs unrequisitedly for Demetrius, who broke up with her to be with Hermia. Enraged, Aegeus invokes an ancient Athenian law before Duke Theseus, whereby a daughter needs to marry a suitor chosen by her father, or else face death. Theseus offers her another choice, lifelong chastity, as a nun worshipping the goddess Diana. Here also we can see in those days Athens had a patriarchy or a male centered society, male dominated or oppressed on female in those days. Because here there was a law. According to the Athenian law, the daughters should marry the partner or their life partner whom their father had already chosen. So this is one kind of feminism. This is one kind of oppression of the women. See, the play within the play. Peter Quince and his fellow players Nick Bottom, Francis Flute, Robin Starveling, Tom Snout, and Snug planned to put on a play for the wedding of the Duke and the Queen, the most lamentable comedy and most cruel death of Pyramus and Thisbe. Queen's reads the names of characters and bestows them on the players. Nick Bottom, who is playing the main role of Pyramus, is over enthusiastic and wants to dominate others by suggesting himself for the characters of this way. The lion and Pyramus at the same time. Play in a play is very common in Shakespeare's plays. We can see this play in a play in great tragedy Hamlet, also in other plays also. As that Hamlet, in this play also there is a play within play. Quince insists that Bottom can only play the role of Pyramus. Bottom would also rather be a tyrant and recite some license of Aristotle's. Bottom is told by Quince that he would do the lion so terribly as to frighten the duchess and ladies enough for the duke and lords to have the players hanged. Snug remarks that he needs a lion spot because he is slow of study. Quince assures Snug that the role of the lion is nothing but roaring. Quince then ends the meeting telling his actors at the Duke's Oak we meet. See, the quarrel of the Oberon and Titania. So if we look at this picture, we can see. So in a parallel plot line, Oberon, the king of fairies, and Titania, his queen, have come to the forest outside Athens. Titania tells Oberon that she plans to stay there until she has attended Theseus and Hippolytus' wedding. Oberon and Titania are estranged, means separated, because Titania refuses to give her Indian changeling to Oberon for use as his knight or henchman, since the child's mother was one of Titania's worshippers. Oberon seeks to punish Titania's disobedience. He calls upon Robin, Puck Goodfellow, his shrewd and knaveish sprite, to help him concoct a magical juice derived from a flower called love in idleness, which turns from white to purple when struck by Cupid's arrow. When the concoction is applied to the eyelids of a sleeping person, that person upon waking falls in love with the first living thing they pursue. He instructs Puck to retrieve the flower with the hope that he might make Titania fall in love with an animal of the forest and thereby shame her into giving up the little Indian boy. Now, this is the magical juice incident in the play. Hermia and Lysander have escaped to the same forest in hopes of running away from Theseus. Helena, desperate, becomes disappointed to reclaim Demetrius' love, tells Demetrius about the plan and he follows them in hopes of finding Hermia. Helena continually makes advances towards Demetrius, promising to love him more than Hermia. However, he rebuffs her with cruel insults. Observing this, Oberon orders Puck to spread some of the magical juice from the flower on the eyelids of the young Athenian man. Instead, Puck mistakes Lysander for Demetrius, not having actually seen either before, and poured the juice to the sleeping Lysander. Helena, coming across him, wakes him while attempting to determine whether he is dead or asleep. Upon this happening, Lysander immediately falls in love with Helena. Helena, thinking Lysander is playing a trick on her, runs away with Lysander following her. When Hermia wakes up, she sees that Lysander is gone and goes out in the woods to find him. Oberon sees Demetrius still following Hermia, who thinks Demetrius killed Lysander and is enraged. When Demetrius goes to sleep, Oberon sends Puck to get Helena while he charms Demetrius' eyes. Upon waking up, he sees Helena. Now both men are in love with Helena. However, he is convinced that her two suitors are mocking her, as neither loved her originally. Hermia finds Lysander and asks why he left her, but Lysander claims that he never loved Hermia, just Helena. Hermia accuses Helena of stealing Lysander away from her, while Helena believes Hermia joined the two men in mocking her. Hermia tries to attack Helena, but the two men protect Helena. Lysander, tired of Hermia's presence, insults her and tells her to leave. Lysander and Demetrius decide to seek a place to dwell, a small quarrel between two persons, to prove whose love for Helena is the greater. The two women go in their own separate ways, Helena hoping to reach Athens and Hermia chasing after the men to make sure Lysander doesn't get hurt or killed. See, Oberon orders Puck to keep Lysander and Demetrius from catching up with one another and to remove the charm from Lysander so Lysander can return to love Hermia. While Demetrius continues to love Helena with none of them having any memory of what happened as if it were a dream. Meanwhile, Quince and his band of six laborers, have arranged to perform their play about Pyramus and Thisbe for Theseus' wedding and venture into the forest near Titania's bower for their rehearsal or practice. Quince leads the actors in their rehearsal of the play. Bottom is spotted by Puck, who taking his name to be another word for a jocose. Transforms, transforms his head into that of a donkey. When Bottom returns for his next lines, the other workmen run screaming in terror. They claim that they are haunted. Much to Bottom's confusion, determined to await his friends, he begins to sing to himself, Titania having received the love position. He is awakened by Bottom's singing and immediately falls in love with him. She lavishes him with the attention of her and her fairies, and while she is in this state of devotion, Oberon takes the changeling boy. Having achieved his goals, Oberon releases Titania, orders Puck to remove the donkey's head from Bottom, and arranges everything so Helena, Hermia, Demetrius, and Lysander will all believe they have been dreaming when they awaken. Puck distracts Lysander and Demetrius from fighting over Helena's love by mimicking their voices and leading them apart. Eventually, all four find themselves separately falling asleep in the glade. Once they fall asleep, Puck administers the love potion of The Puck administers the love potion to Lysander again, returning his love to Hermia again, and claiming all will be well in the morning. The fairies then disappear, and Theseus and Hippolyta arrive on the scene during an early morning hunt. They find the lovers still sleeping in the glade. They wake up the lovers, and since Demetrius no longer loves Hermia, Theseus overrules Aegis's demand and arranges a group wedding. The lovers at first believe they were in a dream and can't recall what has happened. The lovers decide that the night's events must have been a dream. After they exit, Bottom awakes and he too decides that he must have experienced a dream past the away top man. At Queen's house, he and his team of actors worry that Bottom has gone missing. Quince laments that Bottom is the only man who can take on the lead role of Pyramus. Bottom returns and the actors get ready to put on Pyramus and Thisbe. At Athens, Theseus, Hippolyta, and the lovers watch the six workmen perform Pyramus and Thisbe play. The performers are so terrible playing their roles that the guests laugh at if it were meant to be a comedy, and everyone retires to bed. Afterwards, Oberon, Titania, Puck, and other fairies enter and bless the house and its occupants with good fortune. After all the other characters leave, Puck restores amends and suggests that what the audience experienced might just be a dream. Now we have to look at the themes of the play. What kind of themes Shakespeare used? Feminism is the most important theme of this play. Male dominance is all Male dominance is one thematic element found in the play. In a Midsummer Night's Dream, Lysander and Hermia escape into the woods for a night where they do not fall under the laws of Theseus or Aegis. Upon their arrival in Athens, the couples are married. Marriage is seen as the ultimate social achievement for women, while men can go on to do many other great things and gain social recognition. So now I have to consider Midsummer Night's Dream as a romantic comedy. Now I have to look at what is romantic comedy. Romantic comedy is one of the play many kinds of comedy performed in the 16th century stays in England. It has a main plot and a subplot, and eligible aristocrat man and women fall in love with each other but cannot marry for some reason. They may be socially incompatible, or their families may have a long standing quarrel, or it could be that the man or the woman do not even realize they are in love. Then, some external agency, like the disclosure of a secret or a trick by other beings, the lovers together. The characters of the subplot are from the lower strata of the society, like servants, constable, mechanicals. So this is about the play A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is very popular in Elizabethan age. It is the greatest romantic comedy of Shakespeare's, like As You Like It and other plays. So if you like this video, please share as possible as to your friends, and also like the videos and comment on this video. If you haven't to subscribe my channel, you do subscribe for the latest updates of English literature and literary theory. Thank you watching for this.